Yo, what's going on? It's your boy, Big Wavy Roy Johnson here.
Hello everyone, this is the interview queen Alicia too.
This is the infamous Cameron Solis.
This is the professional Nathan Cruz.
This is Benji.
This is the Callahan Death Machine in the draw, and the face of Impact Wrestling, Sammy Callahan.
The one and only chocolate under Willie Mack.
This is Shreddy Breck, aka Mr. Clangin' and Bangin'.
And you're listening to...
You are listening to
Broken but Glorious.
Broken but Glorious.
Broke but glorious. Hey, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Broken but Glorious. I'm Chris Lappin. I'm delighted to be joined on the line by Joe Rage. How you doing this evening, Joe?
I'm all right, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah. Huge thanks for joining us this evening.
It's great to be asked to be a part of these kind of things because I just love and talk about wrestling with somebody who actually wants to talk about wrestling.
Yes.
Through my time of being in wrestling, I always end up talking a lot of wrestling with people who really are kind of just entertaining my conversation, and I'm like kind of hijacking a lot of conversations and making it about wrestling just so I can talk about wrestling.
Yeah. I find that I tend to talk to people who watched wrestling in the 90s or they watched World of Sports, and that's about as much wrestling knowledge they have. And so it's so much better now.
I'd say skill-wise, it's become a lot better, but I'd say there's a lot to be desired about some of the stories that are coming out these days. Yeah.
From a story point of view. But they only had
massively.
Especially in the WWE, they only had like 4 pay-per-views to work to, so the story you could remember the storylines a lot better, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that, but like when you think about it, like we had, I think, 3 pay-per-views. We had Rebellion, Insurrection. Did we not have another one as well?
We had a one-night stand. One night only.
Yeah, maybe it was just something like that. But like, yeah. So like the pay-per-views did get out of control sometimes.
Yeah. You've been binging any series you could recommend to the listeners?
I kind of just click back and forth to like nearly everything, but like I must say, for me, I love looking at all the kind of backstage stuff, even if it is like completely phoned in and acted. Like I don't really care. Like even if like so like I watched Breaking Ground and I've watched it about 3 times, but like I just like to watch like the fly on the wall kind of stuff, even if even if all of Breaking Ground was completely made up and it's not even like that. I don't really care. Like it draws me in more than like SmackDown does or Raw, but I still like to watch those as well.
Yeah, I don't think I've watched a full episode of Raw or SmackDown for 5 years at least. I watched the highlights. I watched the hour catch up on the weekend. I don't know if I can sit through a 3-hour Raw these days.
I think I can sit there and watch it from start to finish, but I do have to allow that time. Like I have to make room for that time. I don't think I can do it. I wouldn't be able to do it live, like because you have to allow that much time, and I just don't think it's like it's kind of possible these days. Like with a lot of like adults who have responsibilities and things like that. Like.
Well, with NXT going up to 2 hours, and then AEW is 2 hours as well, and I like NWA and I like MLW as well, so that's 6 hours. So if we've got to add another 5 hours on for Raw and SmackDown,
like when it's something that's like 2 hours or 1 hour or something, it's great because I can just like when it's 1 hour, I can just do it when I'm doing my cardio.
Yes.
And I can just watch it then, and like just sit on the cross trainer and just be watching it with my headphones in and stuff. But like when it's like 2 hours, 3 hours, and it's like all these different shows like you just listed, like I have to kind of like catch up. And by the time I'm caught up, it's the next week and it's all started again.
Yeah, totally. So we went back and we started watching Raw from the beginning, and they're dead easy because they're only 45 minutes to watch.
Is that all there were?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I think we're up to the doldrums now. We're into 95.
I don't know. Like I think that in the pay-per-views, 95, 96, coming towards like I'd probably say 98 and 99. I think you got some pretty good pay-per-views there. You got some good material. and then once the 2000 hits, that's when everything starts to get really interesting.
Mabel's just won King of the Ring, so we're in between King of the Ring and SummerSlam now, so it's a bit of it's built into Mabel versus Kevin Nash, you know.
Man, Mabel,
Yeah.
what a guy!
So who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
When I first watched wrestling, I was clicking between like different channels as a kid. Like we got Sky, the first version of Sky, and like I was just like in awe because in this like kid's room there was a small TV out as if there's a skybox in here. Like I don't really fully understand why my parents let that happen, but they did. And it must have been a deal that they got or something like that, because 2 skyboxes is like something else back then. So I'm flicking through and like most of the channels are just like snow. It's like there's nothing there. And then eventually get to like cartoons and I'm watching that. But then one time I mess up and I go the wrong direction and I end up on TNT and I'm watching like I think it's reruns of WCW and it's reruns of old WWF. I don't think it's like anything new. I mean, I could like anybody. If anybody wants to message me and correct me on this, they can.
What year was it?
That's probably.
So I know they had Nitro on TNT after Cartoon Network.
Yeah, like.
But it could have been reruns. I'm not sure.
I was it was like 94, 95, 96, any of those kind of years. And I was just in awe watching these like mammoth people in the ring chucking each other about, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's past my bedtime, but I am staying up for this. And then like I'm like watching through it and stuff, and like a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks goes by me just doing this, and then my brother walks past and he goes, "You like watching wrestling?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And then he takes me into the back room where he's been watching wrestling the whole time, but he's watching current WWF, and it's like watching all of the major stars at that point, like Mick Foley and you know, Undertaker and stuff, and like their rivalries, The Rock, Stone Cold, all of that. And I mean, and then back then, my first ever favorite was Paul Orndorff.
Oh wow!
Because like when I first saw him, he was like a mammoth guy. He was, I mean,
did you watch him on videotape, or was this on WCW? So Paul Orndorff?
I don't know. Like I can't fully remember it. Like I just remember Paul Orndorff and like how kind of aggressive he was in the ring and stuff. And I think that's what kind of attracted me to him as a favorite wrestler. And then as kind of time went on and I started to get more and more into it, a complete 180 over to Mankind.
Oh, wow.
Because like when I was watching Mick Foley, like JR used to say that he like Mankind was raised by rats.
Yes.
And I was like, Jesus, this is cool as hell, the guy that was raised by rats, but I also like Goldust a lot as well.
Yeah, I liked Goldust. You know, early Goldust was just dead. Weird and creepy and nothing like anything else on the roster at the time.
Yeah, and like for me, because I was a kid, like I was just like, this guy, his finisher is kicking people in the nuts. You can't get better than that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, yes, this is the guy for me. And if he ever loses, then at least I've got like Mick Foley in the back pocket.
This is Benji from the Landed Gentry, and if you've got any class, you'd be listening to Broken But Glorious.
What prompted you to don the tights to get into the ring?
I saw my mum actually like came home with a training poster and said like, look, I got given this at work. She used to work for BT at the time.
Yes.
And she was like, oh, there's this wrestling training. I thought you'd love it. And I was like instantly like, yes, I want to go to this. And I actually went to 3CW first.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, and I went there with one of my friends. We wanted to become wrestlers. This was going to be it. I was going to step in, and then WWE straight away.
Yeah.
and I walk in, and it's this like old kind of working men's club. I had to walk up the fire escape stairs to actually get into it. And I just remember like I remember training really hard, and then being really bored because like I trained with the guys, and that was amazing and everything, and then we had to step out and we had to watch these guys do this whole match and stuff, and I was like, as a young teenager as well, I was kind of like, I don't really want to just sit here and watch people do stuff. I want to do stuff myself.
Yeah.
Like I want to go and do tombstones and that, and tell people to suck it and then leave. So I was like, scrap that. That's not happening. So I went and I left, and I wanted to take up amateur wrestling, and then that's when I found out Britain has zero amateur wrestling anywhere, and then I did find one place, but it was like miles away, and I wouldn't have been able to get to it. And then I learned about Hammerlock, and then I learned about 1PW, and I was like, maybe about IPW. I always get mixed up which one I'm on about, but like I learned about these two companies, and I was like, oh well, these might be the ones for me. And then I was about to go, and then the next day I got given another poster by my mum, and it was a wrestling training poster. This one was a bit better of a wrestling poster, and I was like, all right, okay, I'll go over there and try that. And then that was with Chris in EPW, and he ended up bringing me into wrestling, and he ended up bringing me up in the mindset of wrestling, and how to be, and what kind of really sold it for me and made me think, yes, I'm going to go through with this, was when I was at a show. I was I was at a show, and I saw some things that were just completely ludicrous. I saw a guy come in with like a big odd suit on and a fur coat. Wow. He had two people with him. Told the two people he was too warm. They took the coat off for him. This was all legit. Like, he was doing this backstage. He wasn't doing this in front of people. This wasn't his wrestling gimmick.
All right.
This was just who he was. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm too cold." They put the coat back on for him, and then he goes, "We're leaving," and then they all leave together. And it's like, this was the guy who was like halved in on the company, and I was like, that's a little bit weird. Like, I don't know if I want to be a part of something that's that ludicrous.
Wrestlers, or was he just one of the promoters?
He was one of the promoters / kind of a wrestler. Like, he got on the show because he owned the show.
Okay.
That sort of thing. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be a part of this sort of thing. And then I ended up going around in clothes over my wrestling clothes, and then watching through the glass window. And I was unbeknownst to me, I was stood right next to Frankie Stallone, and he was giving me he was giving me the what's, the where's, and the whys. Yeah. And I remember that at the time he was wrestling 19, 20 years. And if he was wrestling 20 years, I was 19. If he was wrestling 19 years, I was 18. Like, he was wrestling one more year than I've been alive. Wow. He's like phenomenal. Like, he doesn't understand how much he sparked into me by just doing that for me. Like, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to like explain anything to me.
So was this around 2008, 2009?
Yeah, something like that.
So he would have just come off his TNA tour and had a couple of appearances in WWE around then.
So I didn't understand how much of a big deal he was back then and he doesn't understand how much he influenced me to kind of like get into this fully. I later full circled it and met him again and told him about that, and then he apologized for getting me into wrestling.
I met him backstage at the Just Wrestling event early this year. He's a really nice guy. He was in a 6-man tag with the Dogs of War again. I can't remember who he was against. It was a really fun match. That was the place in Liverpool in front of about 15 fans, and he still busted his arse and put out a great match.
He always does. He always busts his ass every time and gives it, like, if he's not giving like 80%, he's giving 100. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. So when you started training, was it like Paul Orndorff you wanted to like mould your style around, or did you want to go more of the wackier side of the Goldust? Or?
I think at that time I started to get into the likes of Triple H and Jericho and stuff, and I wanted to be the bigger guy because I got into this at like 11 stone, couldn't get off 11 stone, and like once I started gaining some weight and stuff, I was thinking like, well, you know, maybe at some point I can mold this into something and, you know, actually become like legit.
Yes.
But like I think my first style that I ever kind of copied was Booker T.
All right, okay.
Like he was like massive to me because like just the way he was massively like over the top, and he was electric, and like you could see that like everything he did with like passion.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's something that I really admired about him. And then just the way, like, I think for me going into it, because I had like such a long kickboxing background, it kind of was like a good kind of step over. It wasn't too far different to what I'd already done.
Yes. Okay.
Like the different kicks that Booker T does and stuff, like, wasn't really that much of a difference to the kicks I'd normally done. Some of them are actual legit kicks, so you know it was all right for me. And but I think when I moved on after that and I started to get bigger, I kind of lost sight of that a little bit because I got too fixated on the idea of being a bigger person and being like, you know, something that's like really huge.
Is that bigger personality or bigger body shape?
No, like bigger body shape. Like
yeah,
I kind of got too fixated on it, and I think it's an easily thing done inside of wrestling because what I never realized was that like there are so many people like myself who are like self-conscious about their bodies and self-conscious about how they feel about themselves, that like, you know, they end up adopting styles to kind of like help that, or you know, kind of cover it as well. Like, you know, people, there's a lot of people who are big that wrestle small because like they don't think they're big enough to be doing big guy moves, and like it's just like, I don't know, it's one of them things. It's weird to find out how many self-conscious people that there are inside of wrestling, and I think it's something that needs to be kind of highlighted and helped, especially from the trainers, because the trainers really are the ones that are going to be molding the minds of future wrestlers every decade from now till, you know, whenever wrestling ever shuts its doors.
So did you have an idea of a character when you started, or did the Joe Rage like evolve over the years?
When I first kind of started doing it and everything, like I didn't really have an idea of a character, because back then like characters were more seen like gimmicks, and everybody got into the habit of being themselves, because what happens is that like Chinese whispers comes from the tryouts that happen, And if the Chinese whisper is that WWE isn't looking for characters, they're looking for people to just be themselves, then everybody then starts to just be themselves.
Well, that's kind of the problem with WWE in like 07 to 09. Everybody was like Joe Blogs in black shorts.
That's exactly it. They wanted, because they were trying to make wrestling into a reality TV show, which they've kind of succeeded at in a way. And when they were trying to do that, they missed out on so many really good characters that have just like stayed out on the indies and not really gone anywhere because they knew they were onto a good thing with this character, but WWE never saw it and had nowhere else to go.
No, definitely.
Yeah, like it's weird how if you actually look at the indies objectively, like from a security camera, you could see like the amount of people that are like kind of bitter, disappointed, or really excited, and like that split between everybody ends up forming into cliques.
Yeah,
like the bitter people are usually sat with each other. Well, in some locker rooms, not all locker rooms. I'm not gonna sort of like trash the whole indie scene because like that's not fair. But like I think that to some degree there are cliques of people where they just kind of stay bitter together, and there's people where they're like they try and pick each other up because they're taught from a different school, and it's really apparent as to where you're taught as to what your mentality is in wrestling.
Yeah, I understand that. So I've been through some wrestlers who they were taught to be really loyal to one school, but then I've been taught to other wrestlers who were encouraged to go around the country and go to different schools and pick bits up from everybody. So it's
I kind of see it as this, is that if you're a teacher and your goal is to make somebody into a WWE superstar, you have to let them go everywhere.
Yes, definitely.
You have to, because if you want that person to be able to say one day that I was taught here first, then you have to know your limitations as a trainer, and you have to be able to say, look, I can't do much anything more for you. I think you should go here because you'd really suit that. And that kind of encouragement should be more should be created more inside of the British kind of schools, because like we as British people don't really talk feelings, and we don't really talk mentality, and we don't really we're very introverted people, and because of that, that's the reason why we have so many people with like mental health issues that like aren't being attended to and stuff like that. But then like there are absolutely amazing trainers that are doing that and that are pushing their people to go elsewhere. Like Rampage pushes you to go other places. Hayden Dutch in Fight Factory, he pushes people to kind of go other places as well and branch out. I think Stu Allen, he does as well. These are just the ones that I've like came across in my time. Fight Factory Pro in Ireland, they push people to learn from other places. In fact, they, from what I've seen, they push other people to learn in other places and bring that back to the school.
That makes sense.
Because they it's how you can learn even better. I think Johnny Moss does the same as well. Like it's the way forward. You can't just learn in one place, because if you learn in one place, you're only going to get that good.
And you're only probably going to learn that one style, which may not be may not be what's fashionable in different parts of the country. So if you go around the country and learn different styles, then you can at least adapt to what. Because I'm guessing you change your style slightly to depend on which promotion you're in front of which crowd you're in. So if you only learn the one style, you might not be able to do that as well.
you have to be able to give people different flavors of ice cream. You have to, because not everybody's going to want the same flavor every single time. Yeah, like, you know, they might want you vanilla, but you need to be able to give them a scoop of strawberry as well and a scoop of chocolate. So then there you go, you've got like a Neapolitan that you can actually show off in front of people, and they weren't expecting it.
Yeah, 'cause I'm guessing you wrestle completely different on an EPW show to that you wrestle on a North shows, which you wrestle on a main event show.
Well, exactly, yeah. Like you wrestle differently on a main event to you would, you know, any other place on the card. You wrestle differently for. I wrestle differently for North when I wrestled for them, but like I also wrestle differently for Chris at EPW when I wrestled for him. It's the same. It might be the same base, but it's not the same layer.
So how was the British scene? So you started in like 2008. How's it changed? Because it kind of got a boom between like 13 to 14, 15. So how's it changed since you started?
No one liked wrestling when I started.
No.
Not even me. But no, like no one did. No one liked wrestling. Like we had crowds of like 12, 30, 20, 10 all the time. It would be good if we found a 50. Do you know what I mean? Like it's drastically different, completely, and the call is different as well, and the standard is different, because when I started wrestling, I could do Booker T stuff, and you know it would get me over, and it would get me some kind of recognition, but it would be a recognition of a small group of people. I was happy with that. And then for another show, I got asked to do a Sting tribute, which I did, because I was told that, like, well, you know, like you have to be willing to do the tributes because you have to respect the business enough to know that it's not just about you, it's about the promotion as well. And I was thinking, like, well, if it draws more people, then fair enough, I'll do it. Like, because it's about being loyal to everybody, not just, you know, to the one person yourself. You have to be willing to compromise some of your own ideals to be able to put forward something that might actually entertain more people in a vaster area.
So when you said you did a tribute to Sting, did you have the face paint and the?
Yeah.
So, was the whole card just people dressed as fake WWE people? Or?
No,
I've heard about these shows happening, but I've never.
It was like a mix and match. Like there was a Rey Mysterio tribute, and there was an Ultimate Warrior tribute, and there was like me as Sting, and like the way I got asked was, to me, really strange. Like I was sat there just, you know, taking my boots off and stuff, and the promoter walks past me and he goes, "You know who you look like, son? Steve Borden." And then he walks off, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, and back then, like, I had no idea of any wrestlers' real names. I think I knew Big Show's, and that was it. So I'm sat there like, and who's Steve Borden anyway? and like my trainer at the time, he goes like, "Oh, like that's Sting. He's asking you to do Sting as the tribute." And I was like, well, I kind of like wrestling for myself as myself. And he was like, yeah, but like sometimes you just have to do it to respect the business, and like you don't have to wrestle exactly like Sting. And I was like, all right, well, I'll give it a go then. So I go to the Stitch's place. I get the outfit made, the Scorpion one, because that was the only one I liked. I actually started to do research on Sting because, in all honesty, he wasn't one of my favorite wrestlers. And like it was only because of doing his face paint that I grew to hate Sting. Because I'm doing his face paint and I keep getting the top of it wrong. You know, the spider face paint that he has.
Yeah.
So I'm doing like the spider, and I'm like doing the top bit, I'm getting really frustrated because I have to keep wiping this makeup, this face paint off, and then putting it back on, which means having to do the base layer again, because I've got really into doing the face paint. Like the amount of research I did, I don't think I've ever researched anything more.
No.
I imported the face paint at the time from France. Now you can get it in the UK, but at the time you could only get it from there. And so I'm doing this face paint. I keep getting it wrong, and then I realised the reason why. Steve Borden's forehead is massive. I'm doing his face paint, and I'm like, it's because your forehead's massive, you bastard. Like the amount of canvas he has on his forehead, I'm like, well, because you've got a 6 head, like, what am I going to do here? So then I end up making the legs like a lot shorter and then at a different angle so it still makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I end up pulling it off anyway. And like it's really weird to have people come over to you thinking that you actually legit are somebody else.
Yeah, wow.
Like, and it's not like I'm trying to like toot my own horn or anything like that. It's literally just, it was weird for me for people to be going like, "You all right, Steve Borden, you all right?" And I'm like, well, why are you saying, like, even if I am Steve Borden, why are you saying my name?
Yeah.
But like, well, in any case,
wouldn't you have been like late teens, early 20s?
Yeah.
And Steve Borden would have been in his 40s.
Yes. Yeah, that's another thing that threw me off as well, because it was like, well, I know I look a little bit older for my age than I actually am, but like, come on. Come on. Like,
Sting was wrestling in a t-shirt on TNA like 2009, 10. He has that out of shape. So it's like,
yeah. Like he did get proper out of shape at one point. I noticed that. Like, I think there was one time where I did Sting, and a fan ended up having a conversation with me while I was signing the poster, and they ended up telling me like that they knew Sting must have had to have been somewhere else, and I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, because like for you to go from where you were in like some year, probably like 2006, and then to go to where you are now, I knew they must have replaced you. And I was like, you think there's 2 Stings? There is not 2 Stings. It was just like, I don't know, it was a bizarre experience sometimes. Like, other times it was like, I got to wrestle in front of 1,800 people, and when they all kind of like cheered for me coming out, it was a bittersweet moment, because I was really happy about it, because it was like, whoa, I've never seen this many people go crazy before. And it was also a bit like, but they're not going crazy for me, they're going crazy for Sting. It's not my cheer. Do you know what I mean? Like regardless of like whatever good show I've put on as Sting, or whatever, you know, good attire I you know, made up that night, it doesn't really matter, because it's all for him. It's not really for me. So like, I ended up in a kind of ceremonial way, like burning the old Sting attire, and then like just carrying on as myself, because like I just couldn't do it anymore, because it was like, it's really weird. And then what if he hears that I'm just like doing this?
Yeah.
Like, am I essentially taking money from him? Like, which at the time, I don't think any late teens, early 20s would have really cared about something like that. But I don't know, I just couldn't really do it anymore.
No. The worst one I saw was there's a guy in All-Star Wrestling called the Yes Man. And he came out to Flight of the Valkyries. He did the yes. He had the big beard. He wrestled exactly like Daniel Bryan. Our Joel, 10 at the time, convinced he just met Daniel Bryan. Got a photo with him and everything.
Nice. Like, see, stuff like that is quite good. Like, if a kid goes home happy that they just met like Daniel Bryan, even if they didn't, it's kind of good. Like, it is kind of lying to them, but at the same time, it's like, well, did he go home happy or did he go home sad? Like, well, if he's
Oh,
going home happy, that's
I didn't tell him for about 2 years.
yeah. Like,
It wasn't until he looked through the photos again and go, "That's not Daniel Bryan."
I don't think there's need to tell them really, is there? It's just like it's one of them things, isn't it? Like it's a good moment for him to look back on and think, yeah, I met him.
Well, it was on the same card as Gangrel, so in his head, I think it could have been WWE because he's little. And like Nathan Cruz and Zach Gibson was on that card as well, and Dean Allmark was on quite a decent card at the time. So.
Mate, that is a decent card actually. I'd like to go back and watch that.
I think the main event was Gangrel, Nathan Cruz, and Zach Gibson versus Dean Allmark, James Mason, Tommy Spitfire. Is that his name? Tony Spitfire.
Tony Spitfire. Yeah.
So it was a over the top rope 6-man elimination match.
Aye. He's from Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Tony Spitfire.
Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times, and he's really good.
This is Shreddy Breck, aka Mr. Clangin' and Bangin', and you are listening to Broken but Glorious, because this ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.
Alright, so who is Erin Jacobs?
Erin Jacobs is a weird guy, like like he's kind of like I think I suppose the jumping off point for Erin is basically American Psycho.
I saw like Dexter, American Psycho, Hitman influences in him.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. It's your more kind of like high class murderer rather than like your kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre types.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So but is he an alter ego, Joe Rage, or is in kayfabe is he a different person?
I'm not at liberty to discuss that right now.
Okay.
He could be an alter ego. He could be a separate person. All I know is that I've never met him.
So how is Jacob's difference to Joe Rage then? So.
I'd probably say like the word release brings to mind with Erin Jacobs, because like with Joe Rage, like I'm doing everything that I wanted to do growing up watching wrestling.
Yeah.
With Erin Jacobs, I'm kind of more releasing all of the bitterness I have out on whoever I'm kind of against, because like I think to truly love something you have to hate it kind of almost just as much.
Yeah.
And like I love wrestling, so like there's a lot about it that I hate. Because if you just thought that wrestling was sunshine and rainbows all the time, you'd never get any better. You'd never have any sort of standard that you'd want other people to be held up against, and you wouldn't really get anywhere. Whereas if you hate certain things about it, then that means you have an opinion and a standard that you want to keep to with wrestling. And when people keep kind of breaking that, or disappointing you, or making false promises, or kind of like, just all around just like, arsing about and doing things wrong, and making wrestling look bad on the whole because of it, then it kind of breeds this whole negative kind of thought process in your head. And it's good to be able to have something that releases that, because I get to do with Erin, I get to do everything, every nasty thought I have, I get to do that.
Yeah.
Like everything you want to do in video games, I get to do that in wrestling. And I think that kind of broadens Erin's horizons and makes it so Erin's very versatile and can do so much in so many different situations.
Yeah, I watched one of your vignettes where you're sending a message to AWOL and you literally murder the guy. You put the sheets on the bed, and it's It's amazing visual to see.
Yeah, it's because it's one of them things. Like I started to think, well, I'm not going to be the same Erin in every company that I go to.
No.
I wouldn't be able to. Like it would start to get stale, and I wouldn't enjoy it. And I'd have these. If you can't be the same wrestler in every single company that you go to, because if you do, then that means that you're going to have the same story restarting over and over again. But if you have different things and different angles and different opportunities that you can kind of make out of nothing, then it brings a whole other layer every single time you go to another company.
Yes.
So
did you what? I was going to say. Okay,
sorry. So with EWW, I wanted to make Aaron talk because he doesn't really.
No. So when you developed the character, were you wanting to go down a more violent, hardcore side of the sport?
It was posted to me. I was kind of, I guess you could say I was kind of jaded, and I was doing the same thing all the time with Joe Rage, and Andrew had seen me at a Absolute Wrestling show, and he liked my style, and he suggested the idea of I think he came up with the American Psycho jump off, and then I went away with the Sons of Ulade, and kind of like we came up with the rest of it. Bass Ban, rest in peace. He actually came up with the name Erin Jacobs.
Yeah.
He came up with that, and he also said, like, I think that you should kind of talk this way, because you don't want to talk the same way that you do when you Joe Rage, because it's going to make you like kind of like shift personality wise. And I was like, all right, okay. So we did the first video, which is the one I did for North, where I'm putting the tie on and everything and shining the shoes. Did that, and I think we did each individual shot. I think we did it in like 1 or 2 takes each, because it was easy to just get into that mode, because I never really realized that like I could be a guy who actually has range as a character worker. Now it's just so easy for me to just switch between Erin and Joe Rage. I wouldn't mind trying to do it in a Rumble one time.
The 2 faces of Joe, like the 3 faces of Foley.
Yeah, like the 3 faces of Benji.
Yeah. Yes, because I watched your match with Amir Jordan earlier today, and the end of the match was more. You did your finish move where you raked his neck, but then you wanted to get back in, and you said, I haven't finished it, and you had to get dragged back out of the ring, and you still wanted to go in, and just, I don't know where you met, I don't know if you actually said, I want to kill him, but that was the implication, that you hadn't broke his neck. So.
Yeah, like, I wanted, everything I try and do with Erin, I always try and make it a suggestion.
Yeah.
If I ever implicate myself, it's never intentional. It's just because I'm probably just not that good of like staying in character. But like I never try and implicate myself, because if I implicate myself, then I can't really go anywhere from there. If I say that I want to kill somebody and I never actually kill somebody, then I'm not really a threat, because I never really do what I say that I'm going to do.
I don't think you actually said I'm going to kill. I think you're just saying I haven't finished with him. And then you literally have to get dragged away with like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, that was that was something that I kind of said last minute to Bowers. So like credit to him for kind of allowing it to happen. I said like I think it would be really good if you were able to kind of stop me and like, we have like some security guys take me away. Would that be at all possible? And straight away he was like, yeah, we can do that. And then it did, and it made like a really impressive visual, I thought.
Yeah, and whatever happened to Amir John's mate, Shabazz?
That was another last minute thing. Like, I had ended up saying to Amir, I think it was really close to us going out. I ended up saying to him, like, do you have anybody that like is supposed to be here that isn't? And he said, like, oh yeah, I have a mate called Shabazz. I was like, right, okay. I want to make Erin like a bit of like a stalkery thing, and I think it's a good way for me to get on top of you is that if I say, where's Shabazz? And then you could be freaked out that I said that, then I'll do the throat thrust and then go into, the finish from there. That was the kind of idea behind that, because I do like to, like, even if Erin was to become like, a fan favorite for whatever the reason, I would still always want to make him as weird as possible.
Yes, definitely.
Because like, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, do you remember when CM Punk and Jeff Hardy were doing that kind of like that? They were doing that like feud between themselves, where like, in all accounts, CM Punk was the stand-up guy, and Jeff Hardy was the
it's like straight edge versus the drugs.
Yeah. Like there was it as a person. What they made Jeff out to be was nothing likable, but yet he still was likable.
Yeah.
Like, if you met like that version of Jeff Hardy out on the street, you'd kind of avoid him. You wouldn't like go, yeah, go on, mate. Yeah, you're doing class.
Yeah.
Like, and then with CM Punk, like, again, if you saw him out on the street, you would like him as a person, but because it's wrestling, like, they just went completely the opposite way around. And I think there's something really good in that, like, you can make such a weird character seem like the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, 'cause I hate it when they turn somebody's face and then they suddenly change character. So it makes no sense. Like they've done Rhea Ripley, she's badass, and now she's smiley, and you're like, well, can't you just be a badass that we cheer?
Well, exactly, yeah, and I think that like that needs to be held upon massively. Like you need to hold on to those things, because those are the little nuances that you look back on and go, that was really hilarious. Why did anybody like me?
Well, like Stone Cold back in the day, he barely changed character between heel and face. He'll just either beating up good guys or bad guys. But
yeah,
Stone Cold.
And when I was being booked as a heel as Joe Rage sometimes, and I was being taught by Bram, he always would say that to me. He's like, well, you just, like, I was like, do I need to like change my moveset or anything like that? And he was like, no, just be Joe Rage, but just be insulting to people, because like you're still the same guy. You don't need to change anything about you. You just do it, but now you're a heel.
Yeah. My favorite people I've interviewed are heels. They tend to be like office workers who deal with the public. So they have to be dead nice all week on the phone, so the weekends, so they can be arseholes to people. They absolutely love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. But like, I've got to say, if I had to pick, I'd be a face.
Yeah.
I find it harder to get people to hate me.
It's kind of the opposite of what I've heard. It's
yeah, like I just find it hard to get people like to hate me and stuff like that, because like I don't know like like Benji. I think Benji, like he used to say it to me as well. Is that like it's proper easy for you to be a face? And I was like, well, it's not really. Like, I still work. And he was like, no, you still work, but like it's just easier for you to be a face than it is for me to be a face. Because he quite enjoy like the landed gentry and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wait, you tag team champions recently with him?
Yeah, we were tag champions as the brothers rage finally, because like we like growing up like wrestling, like we always wanted to be like a brothers tag team for ages, and we never got the chance, and then we finally got the chance with a company, and like it ended like for us in our perspective of time, like it ended sooner than it started. Like we wanted to hold on to them so badly. We got I think like we bothered to get like pictures all the time just because we knew it wasn't going to last long.
This is Royce ISAAC $ one half of the wild cards, and you are listening to Broken but Glorious.
So last question, a bit of a longish question. So if you're a promoter for a day, promoting a show, so using wrestlers you've either worked with or trained with, if I give you a match type, you tell me who you'd put in that match. Alright, so who would be in your opening contest to excite the crowd?
Opening contest to excite the crowd, I'd put Shreddy Breck and Rory Coyle.
Wow. That's completely opposites.
I'd put them in a singles match to open the show. One, because you know that they can have a good match together, and two, Rory will spit drink on Shreddy, which I'd always enjoy watching. and three, because I know both of them want to go home early.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would be in your comedy match?
A comedy match, mate. One of them's always got to be Martin Kirby, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like every time you have to have him.
So you're gonna go up against another comedy wrestler, or you're gonna have a straight man to go up against?
I don't know. Like, I'd put him against Adam Maxted.
Oh wow, yeah.
Just because I've never seen it happen.
No.
And also, I'd like to see Maxted break character and laugh at some of the stuff that Kirby did.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what would be your women's title match?
Women's title match. I'd have Saraya Knight, Roxy, and who would I have as third? Sky Smithton.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have those three in a triple threat for the title. One, because I'm a massive mark over Saraya Knight. Like, I watch anything she does. And then Roxy and Sky, because they both went to Germany. I'd like to see how they do against each other, because I haven't actually seen them face each other.
Yeah.
And then all three of them, because like Saraya, like being as experienced as she is, I think it would be a class match. Though.
Yeah. Next is hardcore extreme rules type match.
Right. So Big Joe's in it.
Yeah, definitely.
So Big Joe's in it. This is a hardcore match. I'd have him facing. Oh, who would be class for him to face? I would have him against. I'd like to see him against Jimmy Havoc.
Yes.
And I'd like to put somebody else in there as well. I'd like to put two people in there.
Wow. Bloodbath.
Yeah, like that. Definitely, like, because if you're gonna do it, you may as well do it all the way, don't you?
Like put yourself in. Erin Jacobs in there as well.
I'd put in. I tell you, we're putting actually. I'll put in. I can't remember his name. I tell you, I'll put in Screwface.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'll put in Screwface, and I'll put in. I need a fourth. I want a fourth person in there because, like, definitely you need a fourth person. Like, just somebody in there just for like. Will Cruz.
Will Cruz.
I'll put in Will Cruz in there.
Wow.
Just because we need a big heavy dive.
Yeah. How about an intergender match?
An intergender match. I would have. I'd have Benji.
Yes.
And I'd have
Dominita.
Huh?
Dominita.
I'd have. I'll put in Katie Harvey.
Oh wow, yeah, cool.
Yeah, Benji versus Katie Harvey.
That'd be a fun
I like
match.
that.
Then you got your tag team title match.
Tag team title match will be the Hype Bros.
Yes.
I love the Hype Bros versus myself and Bram as the Heat Bros.
Oh wow. Then you've got your main event.
Main event always has to be Rampage. Rampage
Yes.
has to be in the main event. Rampage and T-Bone.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah,
that'd be a great match.
Yeah, I'd just like
proper house fight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an amazing card. I'd really like to go watch that.
I know. I want to see the show now. But no, like, yeah, that would be my card. Like, I think that would be class.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Right, so this is where I usually ask where can people see you in the near future, but are you doing anything for your fans or anything online, or you want to promote?
I'm kind of staying quiet online because like I want to be able to give content that's decent. I don't want to kind of phone anything in and just like give you something that's like on the phone and just like recorded because I felt like I might have to do something. Like I haven't done any posts on Erin Jacobs or anything. Like I've just kept it kind of as is. I might do like a couple of things to here and there, but like just to let you know that I'm still kind of working and stuff. But creatively, I have some ideas that I want to go down and kind of see into fruition. But at the moment, there's nothing really that I'm kind of going to be releasing anytime soon. Just when the green light's given for wrestling to turn back on, then I'm just going to kind of hit the training centers and just kind of keep my head down and keep going, really, because I've kind of like not been at many training schools at the minute.
No.
And I need to kind of go back and do that because I'm far away from Rampages and he's not like, down my street anymore.
No.
So
right, do you want to promote your social media before we go there?
Social media is Joe Rage Wrestling or Erin Jacobs Curse on Instagram. On Twitter, it is Joe Rage Virus or Erin Jacobs Curse on Twitter as well. Facebook as well, it's just their names. And that's basically it. In terms of where I see myself in the future, it's more or less just keep my head down and seeing what kind of opportunities I can grow and kind of get a hold of. There's so many times where you get promised opportunities in this business and they don't come to fruition. So I don't want to make any sort of assumptions, but the main goal is always like to a contracted position.
Yeah, definitely. What did you have any plans that you're really looking forward to? Has been cancelled by the pandemic?
By the pandemic, yeah, there was a few shows that I was booked on and stuff that obviously like never came to fruition because of the pandemic and stuff. EWW, massive love to them, and I hope they're kind of like everybody's recovering financially from all of this and stuff because I know it's been hard on the promoters. Fight Factory Wrestling, same for them, and just everybody really, everybody that I've ever worked with, I hope is in a better position now than when the lockdown started, and I hope that we can kind of work together on some ideas in the future and hopefully make something that gets us all paid. But yeah, like it's more about just like looking to the near future rather than the far future, because the far future is always going to be the same for me, what I want out of wrestling, but the near future kind of changes from day to day.
Yeah, my 4-year-old's missing Wrestle Island so much that he's created all his favourite wrestlers on one of the WWE games and just does his own matches.
Wrestle Island is definitely something that I would want to mess with, and I'd want to be on, because I've always kind of like saw them as like a kind of rite of passage. Like if you're a wrestler that's kind of worth his salt, then you've probably been on Wrestle Island at some point, or you've been on there's many other companies that I can kind of list here, but like Wrestle Island is just one of them that I've always wanted to be on for my own kind of like goals.
Yeah, I haven't missed the Wrestle Island show for. I missed one in 2017 because it was my girlfriend's mum's 60th, so we had to miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't missed one for years. But yeah, but they are amazing.
Yeah,
the kids
I think
love it.
so. I think they give a lot to the fans.
Yes. Yeah, so my kids both. I've got a 14-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they both love it, and me and my girlfriend both love it. Yeah, gutted was they were meant to have an April show, and I think they were meant to have a show in 2 weeks, so kind of missed.
Oh damn it! Like, well, that's the other thing as well. Like all these postponed shows and stuff like that. They at least, most of them are probably going to come back. Okay, I hope anyway. It's just going to take a lot. I think for fans to trust each other to go to a show.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess it's been a kind of blessing in disguise from you've been able to rest your body and get all them niggling injuries out the way, and maybe work on things that haven't been things are going well, and think about what hasn't done well from a character perspective, which you can do little tweaks when you come back. And
that's entirely it. That's massively on the point. Is that like I've been kind of thinking about things where like they haven't worked, and things where I was kind of pushing something that really didn't really need pushing, and relationships that I probably like soured by being too eager, and then also at the same time like working on little, like as you said, niggling injuries and stuff like that. I've been working a lot on recovery, for my shoulder and for my knee, but they're both absolutely fine now, so I'm just eager to get back to work.
Yeah, so I spoke to, I'm not going to give them names, but yeah, so one of the hips was buggered, and he reckons it's 3 months off wrestling's done it a world good, and one is his knees were gone, but he was contemplating having to change his moveset because he does lots of back breakers, but just having these 3 months off just feels a lot better now. So it's like,
yeah, they kind of go away. At first, if you're used to doing wrestling quite often, when you first take time off, you actually feel worse in your back.
Yeah,
which sounds really strange, but like
it's gonna be interesting. The first match is back, I think.
Yeah.
Like they say, if you don't give an artist paints for ages, the first thing he comes back to is probably going to be a work of art. So hopefully, you've all got these brilliant things in your head that you've wanted to do for months. So you'd probably be really creative your first couple of matches back.
It probably will be. It's definitely going to be impressive seeing what happens to wrestling when it first gets its first shows.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I've kept you long enough today. It's
no worries. Like I can sit here all night and talk about wrestling. I don't mind.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed speeches there. I love